Do you need help with the zipper?
Years ago, Janet Jackson got interviewed by David Letterman, and it was pretty insane.
My goodness.
This interview was not only shocking, it's disturbing, not to mention kind of gross.
Well, what do you want me to look?
Janet appeared in The Late Show to celebrate the last concert stop of her world tour. The concert was taking place in Hawaii, but Janet wasn't wearing a Hawaiian maxi dress or a floral leg for this interview. David sounded complimentary when he was introducing Janet.
Here she is.
But it gets really creepy after David kisses Janet's hand. She spins around and he's checking her out from behind. He's got a creepy smile on his face, and David makes it look like this interview is going to be too hot to handle. Can you even believe that a late night host would act like this? These days, if someone else did this, they'd immediately get canceled. Janet then says she has a message for Paul Schaefer. He was the leader of David's Late Show band. David still has that smirk on his face, and he says,
This will be good. You got a message for Paul?
what did David mean by that? Janet sends best wishes to Paul from her co-producers, Jimmy, Jan, and Lewis. So whatever creepy thing David was thinking about isn't what happened. David told Janet she looks wonderful, but it still feels weird. He asked Janet how she's doing, and David starts going on about Janet's tour. They sort of talk about it, but it feels awkward to watch. Janet says the tour hasn't been that long, and she's only been gone for 7 or 8 months. David is just sitting there gawking at her, and then he just pauses. The audience starts to laugh, and it's disturbing watching this back. It almost seems like Janet is being made fun of, but the joke doesn't seem that funny today. Still, Janet giggles nervously, and the audience is clapping as they continue to laugh. Then David makes it obvious that this has been a joke on Janet. He stares at her cleavage and cracks the most unbelievable punchline.
Do you need help with the zipper?
Janet keeps her cool and giggles under her breath. This might sound unbelievable now, but maybe Janet was in on this joke, because Paul's band starts to play the riff for Janet's song All For You. As David sits there weirdly scratching the side of his face, finally they start talking again. Although David draws out this disturbing joke for longer, he says,
My goodness.
while he stares for a long beat at Janet's chest. Then David says, like he needs a moment to clear his mind. Do you notice how Janet's fingers are curled and she starts digging her nails into the chair? That doesn't look like someone who's too comfortable with this bizarre conversation. Even if Janet knew how David was going to behave with her during this interview, David starts asking Janet about being on tour again. He wanted to know if she stayed on the road the whole time or whether she came home. Janet just looks awkward at this point. She starts to laugh nervously, and she doesn't answer right away. It seems like Janet is trying to anticipate another creepy moment. She doesn't know how to respond to David because it's so uncomfortable. By this point, David is trying to explain himself. It just sounds like nonsense.
It would just be impossible.
The camera focuses in on Janet's face. She looks at David like he's nuts, but then something seems to dawn on Janet. She points at David, and what Janet says is shocking.
Logistics of it.
Your eyes.
After Janet calls out David's creepy behavior on national television, he acts offended. And although David might have been joking, it's still pretty cringy.
Well, what do you want me to look?
David takes a long drink from his cup like it's obvious he's got to cool down. Then it seems like he is fake apologizing to Janet. But weirdly, David also sounds like he's blaming Janet for being too sexy too. David said, I'm sorry, I don't know what to say. Janet tries to help him out.
But I love how you just continue to do it.
And at least David sounded honest when he admitted that he was just talking, and he had no idea what he had been saying. I guess that staring at Janet's chest took David's IQ down a few notches, and unbelievably, it just gets worse after this. David continues stammering. Finally, Janet changes position in her seat, so she's facing David directly.
What? But I mean, now, whoa!
And you start to think that Janet is definitely in on this weird joke. David continues to freak out, but Janet claims she's just trying to break the ice here. Although Janet says something crazy. Whether or not she's joking or being even a bit serious,
Now you're embarrassing me.
After that, David takes Janet's hand and he won't let go. David cracks a joke that he shouldn't have worn the outfit. Finally, at that crazy point in this disturbing conversation, Janet motions at David to look her in the eyes, and then she pulls her hand away. David keeps piling on the awkward jokes and half-hearted apologies. After he tells Janet he's sorry again, David tells her that he's 54 years old and stuff like this doesn't come his way often. Janet looks away and rubs her ear. She definitely seems embarrassed. At this point, the joke is getting pretty tired. David and Janet try to have a normal conversation. He starts talking about a Jackson family reunion special that aired on the CBS network. David said it was enormous and hugely successful. He then asked Janet if she was a part of that, and Janet has to laugh at herself again as she says,
No.
They talk about how hard it would be to get the whole family together for a concert special since everyone was busy doing their own thing. David decides to throw one more inappropriate comment in there. He stares at Janet's chest and says,
It's hard to get them all together.
It's obvious that David is talking about Janet's cleavage in that tight leather outfit. Janet has always been a super talented singer, dancer, and actress, so it's crazy to think that she was put into disturbing situations like this. Shockingly, Janet set the record straight on one thing many years ago. She's always suffered from body issues, and you won't believe how long it's been going on for her. Janet started out as a teenage actress on the TV sitcom Good Times. Sources with inside knowledge allege that Janet was treated cruelly behind the scenes, but it was Janet who threw shade at the adults on set because Janet has alleged that these people in charge told her she had to lose weight for her role as Penny. But that wasn't all. And shockingly, what those adults did on the set of Good Times has a disturbing parallel to that creepy interview between David and Janet. This is because she was entering puberty when she started appearing on Good Times, but the people in charge didn't want Janet's body to be too obvious to the viewers at home, so they made her wrap up her chest in a bandage. She also grew up in a strict religious household. It sounds formal because Janet always calls her mom Catherine mother. When she was growing up, Janet loved artists who she shockingly called dirty. One shocking time she confessed to being mortified when she was supposed to be going to a Prince concert with her mother. This was the kind of sexy music that Janet secretly wanted to do, and at the last minute, Janet switched seats with someone. That way she could enjoy Prince, Vanity 6, and the Times' indecent performance without having mother by her side to make it all seem creepy and wrong. Janet always wanted control over her own life and career, even if that meant putting herself in disturbing situations like that interview with David. Janet said she always worked hard, focused, and maintained her discipline. Shockingly, she later said she finally learned what it really took to succeed. According to Janet, she was well into adulthood when she learned that God is really in control of everything. That made her rely more on her strict religious faith, while still being the best version of herself that she could possibly be. Do you think that David's interview with Janet is too creepy? Are you still a Janet fan? What are your favorite Janet songs or videos? Have you seen her movie or TV roles? Let me know in the comments below.